Also, we couldn't do the game awards because one, it'll probably go too late and we'll lose Dirk and Brian, and Mike only sort of pays attention to video games anymore, so
Yeah.
it wouldn't work for the four of us. That's okay though. The only thing about the game awards that matters is the trailers, and they'll be all over the internet immediately. So, it's fine. This is me just filling for a minute to make sure that the recording starts. See, I'm paying
Yep.
attention.
Right.
Nice.
I didn't unlock the door for when Renee gets here though, so at some point I'll have to jump up and go open the door.
Just have to wait in the cold.
Picked up the rental car today because I think I had told you guys that my car was hit while we were at the Craftsman's Classic. I think I had said that in a text.
Yep.
And it went in today. They think it'll take 2 to 3 weeks, but that's mostly just waiting for parts. It's not horribly damaged. But I got home after work and I was like, "You guys want to see the rental car?" And Carrie came out and she's like, "All right, give me this stuff. I want to go back in." The neighbors are all like, "Oh, you don't want to chat?" She's like, "It's cold out here. I'm going back inside." So it's been pretty chilly lately.
Yeah,
She
Carrie
saw the
does not
rental
do the
car.
cold,
No, she does not.
like,
So.
at all. All right, then. So, here we go. Oh, jam! Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mana Pool. This is, finally, episode 691 of the Mana Pool, and apologies for the long pause between episodes, but life happens. I forget why we took those first 2 weeks off. One was Thanksgiving.
And the
next
week
one-
before Thanksgiving, something else was going on where we were gonna do it, and something came up.
Yeah, and then we were gonna do one last week, and everyone but Dirk had let's not do it this week. So
Mhm.
Brian got sick and died. Mike is overworked. I was doing manual labor. Oh, I didn't tell you guys this. I went to jump. I put a hand on the tailgate of the truck and went to jump up onto the tailgate and misjudged the height and ended up wham on the tailgate with both of my knees. Well, one knee and one shin.
That.
Yeah, and now I've got a nice little cut on my shin that doesn't hurt, and right next to it hurts like a son of a something. Like, it's bad. And I keep forgetting because the itch, or the cut now has an itch to it because it's healing.
Yeah.
I'll reach down to scratch it and scratch across the cut and into the place where it actually hurts and go. And then my actual the knee on the other leg has like a big knot still. That is sort of the touch, but there's no visible bruise, but it feels like a bruise, and there's a knot. So, if at any point I randomly go, "Ah!" That's what happened.
Got it.
So, yeah, hi, I'm Chewie. I'm the lead dork who hurt himself. And we've got all these other dorks here. Dorks, quickly, who are you?
I'm Brian. I'm the lead rambler and master tangent person. This is what
Yes.
happens when I try to go quickly.
I'm Mike. I'm the rules guy and the game lord guy.
And I'm Dirk, the self-proclaimed greatest man alive and moral compass of the group.
Yeah. So, that's us. Now, Mythic Conscription is a thing we've been doing for years now. I have no idea when we started it. But it's a feature that we do where we go back to sets before the Mythic rarity existed, look at all the rares, and then argue about what would or would not be Mythic if Mythic was a thing at the time. As printed, none of this, well, if this was Mythic, it would cost 2 less. No, none of that crap. We just, as the card is, would this be Mythic or not? And we've had our ups and downs, over the years about this, and I think since then we've completely lost the thread, because usually we're just like, I don't know, I guess that's Mythic. So,
Yeah.
Still makes for an interesting discussion.
yeah, which is really all we're here for. And we've done all of the non-core sets, except for 2, which is Shadowmoor and Eventide. And this, in what could possibly be our last episode with the 4 of us of the year, maybe. We'll have to talk about that. We're gonna do Shadowmoor, so that next year we've only got 1 left. And then we'll figure out if we want to do anything with any core sets or anything else. We're not going to do all the core sets before any of you are like, no. But we might do something.
Do the secret layers.
Just bite me.
Yeah, I know.
So, let's get to it, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it. Shadowmoor.
Shadowmoor. Shadowmoor. I really love Shadowmoor. Hey, look, Mike just
was an
resubbed.
awesome set, and I know some people didn't care for it because it was a major tone shift from Lorwyn and Morningtide. And
yeah, this is when we lost Squanto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, to be fair to Squanto, all these years later, finally, geez, Lorwyn and Morningtide were something really unique that every other story was like end of the world, and this wasn't, and Lorwyn wasn't, and then you shift into Shadowmoor and everything's dark and twisted, and it's end of the world, and it's a little more same. It kind of, thinking back, it's a little bit like Khans of Tarkir block, where you had kind of a unique place and the structure and all that. And yeah, dragons are great. I don't have a problem with dragons, but you went from a fairly unique fantasy story to setting to more of like a traditional one. So
yeah.
But the set Shadowmoor was really cool. The themes were like, you had infect, not infect. No. Dang it! I saw it just a second ago.
There you go.
Wither. Thank you. Wither, and you had I just had this up. I am so bad at this game. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
You had the untap symbol. And persist.
You had the untap, and persist was the one I was looking for. So, and yeah, the untap symbol was really cool. And if anything, I think Eventide does even more with it. But neat set.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, Lorwyn was like the happy-go-lucky, like Tolkien, but like happy-fied Tolkien.
Mm-hmm.
And then Shadowmoor was like, I don't know, A Song of Ice and Fire. It's like, yay, everything's happy and great, and then everything's awful and dark and creepy.
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because all of this set had some unique takes on tribes, and tribal was even a thing, which they've since abandoned hard.
It's not called that anymore.
Is it not called that anymore?
Yeah, they made an announcement, I don't know, just a week or two ago. I don't know. Time has no meaning.
Wow. Topical.
The word they're dropped because a lot of I don't know specifically which ones, but like a lot of I think ethnic groups are sort of iffy over tribal, and so Wizards went, yeah, right. So now it's called Kindred, and that'll be what those cards are known as.
Okay, cool.
But that's not something that they're really promoting anyway, because they don't like the design of tribal.
Well, yeah, but also the term tribal as used by the community, a lot of people have stopped using because of that. Because as Chifuji said in the chat, there's cultural baggage.
Oh no, I get that, And I'm not saying we should be blind to that ever. It's always good to be aware of that.
Yeah.
I just think it's interesting because this is also, it's not like this is a mechanic they have expressed any interest in going back to. If anything, they're like, yeah, this was not well implemented. Or it's not, they don't want to do it going forward.
Yeah. But like
But
the community has started using stupid words like typal, and that makes me want to gouge my own ears out.
God, that's a horrible word.
Thank you.
That's,
Horrendous.
that's
Typal.
not good.
And I really think that
But-
kindred is a great word to, instead of saying, oh, I built a tribal deck, I built a kindred deck. Oh.
That I could see. That I could see. But what I was just referring in general terms to the major
Like the races.
creature
in the-
types.
yeah.
And it was fascinating that in Lorwyn, you had these types like the Kithkin and the Marrow and all these things. And in Shadowmoor, they're still here. But not just the settings twisted, the creature types are twisted, where in Lorwyn, the Kithkin shared this bond and it made them, more courageous. It made them feel more at peace and welcoming and open. And in Shadowmoor, they are super xenophobic and they don't trust outsiders at all. So I thought that was cool too.
Yeah. But let's get into the cards. So, because of
Yes.
the way that Shadowmoor is set up, we've got a lot of these to go through.
We
Because
do. It's
not
a
only
ton of cards.
is there, well, because it was a large set,
Yeah, it
which was another weird thing. They did Lorwyn and then Morningtide as big set, small set. And then they did Shadowmoor, Eventide as another big set, small set.
Yeah.
Instead of what was the normal at the time, big, small, small. And that was your
Yeah.
block. We had two related mini blocks or one 4-set block. I don't remember how we referred to it at the time.
It was weird, and it was weird for limited.
It was
Because you think
considered
about-
a block, but for drafting, I don't think you would mix them.
I don't
I don't think you did.
Yeah,
I don't think you did
so.
mix for drafting, which again, weird. So, but do we want to run through these? Not all of the white cards because we got a lot, but do we want to hit the usual colors?
Yeah.
and
Oh,
then
yeah.
go
So,
into
as I was saying,
multicolor?
because of the way this worked, this is also where they introduced, hybrid mana, right?
No, they introduced that in original Ravnica block, but this was the first.
This is the
set
first
where
time
it
they,
was-
lead into it hard.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Like in original Ravnica, there were one or
There were,
two.
the guild mages and a couple other things.
Yeah,
or
but this
something.
is
But
but
this
this is
one,
hard.
it's essentially 5 extra colors.
Well, yeah, because
So-
this actually, I'm looking here, and I don't, unless there were some I was missing, I don't think there were any multicolored cards in this set that were not hybrid. I think that's what it was.
At least not in the rares.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Which, if anything, makes, as you said, makes it more open. That's one of the things is a multicolored card that's not hybrid is harder to cast, just in general.
Yeah.
A hybrid card is technically easier all the time. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, what do we think about white?
Well, first of all, the cycle, the boon, or the reflection, the doubling enchantment cycle. Do we
Oh, that
want to
was
just
a
knock
cycle,
out that
wasn't it?
cycle? Yeah. Do we want to knock that out, yay or nay, real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So the reflections, one in each color and not in the multicolors, that were an enchantment that basically doubled something. So, to your benefit, boon reflection, 4 and a white enchantment. If you would gain life, you gain twice that much life instead. Clean, simple, but honestly, pretty big effect, right? I mean,
Oh,
and
yeah.
the word double by itself is just like, wow.
Yeah, Thought Reflection costs 4 and 3 blue and doubled your card draw. If you would draw a card, draw 2 instead. What?
Which
Yeah.
nowadays you're like, oh, first time this turn or whatever, but this is straight up just double. But it also costs 7, including 3 blue in a hybrid set where nothing is 3, of that. Well, very few things.
Yeah.
So that's hard to cast. I don't know if it's ever seen any play, but I mean
Yeah,
that's also
sure, in Commander or
ridiculous.
something.
I'm
Um,
sure.
yeah. Wound Reflection is also expensive, costs a total of 6, but there's only a single black in its cost. For 5 and a black, at the end of each turn, each opponent loses life equal to the life he or she lost this turn. So it basically
So
doubles your damage output.
yeah, it doesn't have the word double on it, but that's what it does. So
Yeah.
I'll take Rage Reflection, so we save the green one for Dirk. But Rage Reflection, 4 and 2 red enchantment. Creatures you control have double strike, which I love. Honestly, this one makes me laugh, especially looking at the cycle, because not only does it fit, but it's just hilarious that the word double is already in the mechanic. So it's just like a perfect little chef's kiss, and also is kind of ridiculous because makes me pee a little.
Or a
It
lot.
was a little terrifying.
Yeah.
All right, in green, it's Mana Reflection for 4 and 2 green. So same cost as Rage Reflection, just 2 green instead of 2 red. If you tap a permanent for mana, it produces twice as much of that mana instead.
Yeah, half a doubling season, essentially.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So I wanted to tackle this one first because usually if there is a cycle,
Uh-oh.
we talk about it. There's also the hideaway creatures cycle, but we can get to that in a minute. That's more of a like Easter egg sort of thing, but this is clearly a cycle. I like it as a cycle, and I think double has one of those reactions as a player. You're like, "What?" I remember the first
Hmm.
time, in Mirrodin when they printed the White Suns, is it Beacon or where it was double your life total. People were like, "Wait, what? Double? What?" That was big. I don't know that these are mythic. I think they are big. They are kind of cute. But I don't know that they quite get there. They don't. None of them. I don't. By nature, all of them need something else to work, but that's not a game changer. What do you guys think? I've got them
Hmm.
in maybe kind of like the less than 50%. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, to me, this is one of those things where it kind of hinges on, okay, I don't even remember what criteria we're supposed to be using to evaluate these things. Because it's like, now they're not mythic, but I think they very well would have been mythic at the time to show off.
My philosophy, while it has changed a bit over time, has generally been what what would have been printed at the time if Mythic was a rarity.
Well, yeah, that's
That's
the whole
been
point.
my kind of.
Yeah, and I think I'm gonna go with Mike on this one. I feel like these would have been mythic because one of the things that they always said uh, in the early days of the mythic rarity was that the mythics were marketing,
Yeah.
Hmm.
and I think these are powerful enough and like simple enough to grok that they doubling your life and your card draw and your damage and your mana. I think they would have pushed these as mythics. I could see them going either way, but I'm leaning more towards yes.
Okay. Dirk, what do you think?
I'm kind of leaning in that even though they're good cards and everything, I feel like that maybe some of them would have been mythic. Like, I don't know. I feel like the blue
See
one
now,
probably would have been. I don't feel like the white one would have. Because, okay, you've doubled your life, but, like, like, you'd be doubling your life, but there's always mechanics that can fix that, and I don't know.
Dirk is not impressed.
There are some of them that are like, yeah, that is a game changer, which would it for me have fallen into mythic. But there are some that like the green one. okay. It's
And since for cycles like this, they would make sure they were all the same rarity, you're thinking they would just not bother.
probably.
So I'm
So
kind of like
we're
maybe,
split.
but maybe not. Mike and Chewie are kind of like, yeah, those probably would have been printed at Mythic, and Dirk is like, some yes, some
I feel
no.
like some of them would warrant it, but others just. If they did print them as Mythic, I feel like that the cost would need to have been lower. Like that's a high cost to pay for those abilities, for them to be considered Mythic.
Oops. All right. Well, the team is split on the reflections.
Yeah. So there's a loose cycle here. If you remember back in Lorwyn, there were the hideaway lands. And now you get to see the lands actually kind of become creatures. And these are big creatures, each one of them, that have some sort of effect that would have worked well if you had satisfied the hideaway conditions of the land.
I think
they
these
all
are
cost. You think these are rare? Okay.
rare. Yeah, I don't think any of these have a big enough effect for us to even bother reading them all, just because there's so many cards, there's so many things to look at.
There are a lot to look at. I do like the dragon and the troll, but the troll especially feels very like whoa to me. The dragon's just pretty cool. I will definitely agree with you on the black, the blue, and the white, though.
Yeah,
but
the troll. Okay, the troll is really cool. And do they all cost 7? They do, don't they?
They all cost 7. Yes.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
But hey, if they're hideaway, they don't cost anything.
Yeah.
Ah. Well, why don't we talk about the troll when we get to green, and let's just keep going with the white cards then.
All right, so within white, what else? What do we have here? I'm thinking maybe the Twilight Shepherd.
I'm thinking maybe the Twilight Shepherd as well.
Mm-hmm.
The Ruined Halo is kind of cool, but seems very solidly rare to me. Just because something is unique doesn't mean it has to be mythic. So what's the Twilight Shepherd do?
The Twilight Shepherd for 3 and 3 white is a 5/5 angel with flying and vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, hang on, let me read the. When it enters the battlefield, you return to your hand all cards in your graveyard that were put there from the battlefield this turn. And it has persist, which means when it dies, if it didn't have a -1/-1 counter on it, it comes back with a -1/-1 counter on it. Which means that its enters the battlefield triggers again.
Yes.
Which is fun when you have the Twilight Shepherd out and you like blow up the world, or someone else blows up the world. Then all of your stuff dies. Your Shepherd pops back and brings everyone else that died with it from your side of the board.
Yeah. And I think the best part is that it can be something that you do and that you control.
Yes. I always had visions of wanting to do some sort of crazy mass sacrifice to do awful thing, and do the Twilight Shepherd too. I never actually did that, but I always wanted to. So yeah, because of the, it was the big whoa persist card in white, and it had a big whoa effect, and it's an angel. WotC loves them. They're mythic angels.
Mm-hmm.
They do.
And that was really the only one in white that punched me in the face, for me personally. How about you guys?
So I'm just gonna mention Rune Halo. I don't think it is, but to me it was like the next closest. For 2 white enchantment, as it enters the battlefield, name a card. You have protection from the chosen name. That's pretty unique. Don't think it gets there. I think the Twilight Shepherd is a little more like woo, and the Boon Reflection, as we talked about before, is more of a marketing thing. But
Yeah.
I see this. I can't not mention it because I feel like it would be an oversight too.
Yeah.
But
It was
only
one
in
of
passing.
those, like, printed specifically to be a tournament sideboard card.
Yeah.
And they've done a bunch of those, name a card
Well,
things over the years, and even a
oh,
few before this.
we're gonna get to a bunch of tournament sideboard cards. Like this set is chock full of them. But but I'm good with Twilight Shepherd. What do you guys think that haven't spoken yet?
I think the Twilight Shepherd, I think, is the one mythic possibility for me. The other ones, they're interesting. They're very useful, but useful is not quite the prerequisite to be mythic.
Well, yeah.
Like Greater Aromancy, I think is a cool card. I don't think it's mythic.
No.
Gotcha.
The only other one that I think is a cool card that, or is one that is interesting, Order of White Clay, I think is because as long as you have the mana, he has an untap ability. And so if you tap him, he paid the mount and you can untap him. So for 1 and 2 red, or 2 red, 1 and 2 white, he's a 1/4 Kithkin Cleric that's rare. For 1 and 2 white, untap, return target creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to play. So all you have to do is tap him somehow, and
Like
if
to
you have
attack?
a white weenie army, and you have enough mana, he can put them back on the battlefield. Like he can restock your army.
He can. I think it's kind of a cool card, but I think it falls fairly solidly into rare. Personally, you do see a lot of recursion effects at rare.
I mean, and you are correct in that. I that's the only one that I thought.
This is potentially reusable recursion, so I'm not
Right.
I'm not surprised that it caught your eye.
Yeah.
Dirk does hate to have his toys taken away.
He
It's
really
true.
does. He's
Particularly when
killed.
Particularly when
He's
I
killed
paid
for
3 or
less.
less for it.
Yeah. He's killed for less, and well.
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
in
I've
the
gone
game,
after people for less
in the game.
in the game.
Allegedly. No, wait.
In small print in the game.
As your attorney. Mike, any thoughts?
No, there's nothing else here, in my opinion.
Oh, wait. Where are you at on the Order of White Clay?
Oh, about Order of White Clay specifically. That's probably the closest. But
Yeah.
the hoop that you have to jump through. The easiest way to tap a creature is to attack. It's got 4 toughness, so that protects it a bit, but
True.
you might only get to use this once.
Yeah. And you could always throw some sort of equipment or enchantment or something that you can tap. It's not that great.
See, that was one of the things I was thinking is there's equipments that they tap and they deal 1 damage or something of that sort. But that was the only thing I could think of.
Yeah. He is useful, but
He's not mythic.
yeah. All right, so that's white. Sorry, burb. It's a very big burb, though.
He is.
It is a big
Very
bird.
expensive bird.
Well, they all cost 7, so
So what about blue?
I got nothing. Like
Damn it.
maybe the river kelpie, but You guys go ahead.
This is what the original River Kelpie looked like? Oh my god. Sorry, they did. So, as everyone hopefully knows, I've been working on a grand project to retell the Lord of the Rings using all of the different magic arts from the Lord of the Rings sets. And they did a bunch of cards that use Hildebrandt art, like old Hildebrandt Lord of the Rings art.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is River Kelpie, and it's a classic like Gollum image from years and years ago. But looking at this, like I see River Kelpie, my brain just inserts that image of Gollum. But we don't have that. We've got this thing,
Monstrosity.
and that's awful.
Yeah, it is. I mean, yeah. So, for 3 and 2 blue, it's a beast. It's a 3/3 for 5. Whenever it or another permanent maybe I should look at the Oracle text. Sorry.
Probably.
Just want to make sure I'm getting this right.
Probably says enters
All
the
right.
battlefield from a graveyard.
Whenever River Kelpie or another permanent enters the battlefield from a graveyard, draw a card. That includes that you don't control.
Yeah.
Whenever a player casts a spell from a graveyard, draw a card, and it has persist. So I say that I'm still not sure I'm sold on it, but it's a fairly efficient creature with persist, and it has a lot of potential card draw in a set where this is happening a lot. So
Yeah, and remember, persist comes back from the graveyard.
yeah. So and then flashback and all that good stuff. So
Yeah.
it doesn't just have playability in this format, it has playability in other formats as well. But
Not
I
that
don't
we
know.
really care about that, but I don't see that as a mythic at all.
Okay. I was struggling. I will tell you, I was struggling in blue. So
Yeah, this is weird. Blue is kind of ass.
yeah. It
Like
really
savor the
is.
moment is pretty cool with take an extra turn, but then you skip the untap step. So
Yeah.
that
It's
Thought
neat that it's a
reflection.
it's just a thought reflection. Yeah.
Thought reflection's the only one that I think is decent in this one.
So,
That would
like-
be mythic.
What would you do with savor the moment without the untap? Like,
At the time, you drew a card and activated your Planeswalker's loyalty abilities again. Now, it was just the original Lorwyn 5, but that was
I
still
mean,
something.
that was still really good.
you
And,
also
okay,
could
you could get another upkeep, so stuff could happen there.
you could use the untap abilities of some of your creatures with the untap step with the
That-
untap symbol, but then
Good point.
you still
Hadn't thought
need
about that.
mana for most of them.
Yeah,
so-
but you didn't get any mana back, so you would have had to have had that mana left over, which means you could have done it anyway.
it's a time warp that only costs 3, so they had to balance it. But it's not super, and I mean definitely it had my Johnny mind tingling,
Yeah.
but it just
Like
in
counter bore is just a lobotomy effect, and we've talked about those a lot. But it's a
Yeah.
lobotomy effect you don't even get control over because it's a you have to counter a spell.
Yeah.
Chat points out Puka's Mischief is a recurring switcheroo. I mean,
it is.
sure.
You have to wait a whole turn.
Yeah, blue sucks.
Blue kind of stinks. Yeah. Sorry, Blue.
Sorry,
After
blue.
so many years of being king of the hill.
Huh.
Okay. Dirk, well, you already said your thought on thought reflection. Moving to black? Because we still got a lot to do.
Yeah, let's go to black. Black. What's great about these is there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, roughly 7 cards in each color, so that's why we can look at each card so quick.
Yeah.
Black.
So I have nightmares about the Midnight Banshee, but I think that's just from my own play experience.
Yeah.
I remember Chewie using one to great effect. a lot.
I really like Nightmare Banshee too.
Midnight Banshee.
Midnight Banshee. Well, it's a Nightmare Banshee, so
Yeah.
No, it's
What's
a
it do,
spirit.
Mike?
Wait, what's
I
it?
mean, it's a nightmare for your opponent. Anyway, I don't
Oh,
know.
it is still just a spirit. Okay.
Yeah, so what it does is that it costs 3 black for a 5/5 spirit. It has Wither, so it deals its damage to creatures as -1/-1 counters. And at the beginning of your upkeep, put a -1/-1 counter on each non-black creature.
Yeah.
That adds up.
Yes, it does.
All weenies must die.
Even just 2 rounds of this it can change the board a lot.
Yeah.
Like a whole lot.
No dying.
But is it mythic? And of course, yeah.
It's awesome.
That it is. I didn't even think about this as mythic because I just assumed it was my own personal I love it bias.
I mean, I think I'm there with you, but here's the flip to that. What else in black is there?
Oh, Chifuji points out that the Midnight Banshee also just turns off persist. Like for your opponents.
I hadn't thought of that either.
Yeah, that's also nice because persist requires no -1/-1 counter, which I know
That's
we
true.
talked about at the time. But
I'm sure.
yeah,
But that's important to know. The fact that it not invalidates, but like largely shuts down one of the major mechanics in the set, which persist was new in this set. So in the straight off the bat, it's like, hey, if this creature is out during your upkeep, that's turned off. If not Midnight Banshee, then what? Puppeteer Click?
I mean, Puppeteer Click's really good.
It is really good. Not Plague of Vermin.
Not Plague of Vermin.
Plague of Vermin's so much fun in like this stupid rat way, but oh my god, it costs 7. What?
I feel like I just kept getting copies of Plague of Vermin. I feel like I had like 12 copies, and I'm like, no.
So real quick, starting with you, each player may pay any amount of life. Repeat this process until no one pays life. Each player puts a 1/1 black rat creature token onto the battlefield for each 1 life they paid this way.
Now,
so you
this
just
is
go
not-
around the table
Yeah.
until everyone's like, I'm good.
Now, at first blush, you're like, oh, this is like illicit auction or something like that, where everybody's kind of bidding. No, like as you're bidding, you're paying the life. So it's not like everybody secretly chooses a number. I play this and I'm like, I pay a
Yeah.
life, and Mike is like, well, I want to have more rats, so I pay 4 life. Well, it doesn't matter what anybody else pays. Mike is out the 4 life, which is kind of cool. But this costs 7, and it's just, I mean, no.
And you keep going around until everyone decides to stop. So a person can even up the ante. Like if they said, okay, 3, they could see the responses other people gave and been like, okay, I changed my mind. I'm going to pay 2 more. It's like,
Yeah, but it's not like betting, so that the one person can do like 1, and the next person can go 2, and the next person can be like, well, I'm just gonna do 1 or nothing.
yes. Mhm.
But oh,
Yeah,
for
and the
a real
one
quick, we
guy,
spent a lot of time on this card.
the
Yeah.
one guy who's at like 5 life will be like, none. 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 Oh my god,
Can
you
we-
guys. No, you know what I'm going to
Can we
say.
stop? But then I'm gonna be sitting there and I'm gonna be like, I'm just gonna pay 1 life over and over again just to see what he does. I'm at 40. I'll go down to 29, 15. I don't care. I'm gonna say 1 life every time. This card is so dumb.
Yeah, it's
It's
not
very
good.
silly.
No dying. Yeah,
Trying-
I always liked polluted bonds. I've got so many in decks, but it's not mythic. It's just
It's not.
Like it's an Ankh of Mishra that heals you,
Yes.
right? Ankh of Mishra,
Yeah.
Yeah, so for 5 mana, it's an enchantment that says whenever a land enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, that player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. And this is in my Kervek deck because everyone's going to be playing land. So take some damage, nerds. But it's not good. I just love it because it fits in that deck so well. So, okay, Puppeteer Click, I think, is the only thing that's, close.
That has the best feeling.
Yeah, so what's it do,
wrecked. Mike? When you played against it, it wrecked you. Go ahead.
Yeah, this was also a for real card in serious play. So Puppeteer Click, for 3 black, it's a 3/2 fairy wizard with flying. And when it enters the battlefield, you put target creature card from an opponent's graveyard on the battlefield under your control. It gets haste, and at the end of your turn, you exile it. So it does a little threaten, ray of command, act of treachery, whatever you want to call it, to a creature card in your opponent's graveyard. And Puppeteer Click has persist. So it can die, come back, and happen all over again.
Yeah. And it has flying, so it punches in the air itself, too.
Yeah. Honestly, you have if you didn't play against it, by the time this rotated as standard, you were like, thank God. Because it was a lot.
I don't... That doesn't feel especially mythic. It's just good.
It's just good.
Yeah.
I'm wondering about the Midnight Banshee because it's an impressive cost. It's a big creature with a huge effect that ties into the themes of the set.
Yeah, it could very well be a Timmy mythic.
That's gonna be my vote for black, other than the wound reflection, because I know we're still kind of up in the air about the reflections.
Yeah, I'll go for that. If we've got to have one in black, it's probably that, I guess.
Okay.
Maybe?
Yeah.
Dirk, anything?
No, Midnight Banshee would be mine.
Man, we didn't even mention Dusk Urchins, and we're still not gonna.
Nope.
Okay, red.
Boop, boop, boop.
So,
What is this?
red rares.
Yeah, I feel like Kragenwick Cremator was meant to be something cool, but never really worked out.
I thought Deep Slumber Titan was really awesome, but didn't really get there.
I mean, it's a neat idea, but it's so bad.
Yeah.
A 7/7, a 4-mana 7/7. Wow. But it enters the battlefield tapped. It doesn't untap during your untap step. But when it's dealt damage, you untap it. Which means if you can, somehow hit it, now you're probably going to be able to swing with it every turn because no one's just going to take 7. They're probably going to want to block it, which means you can untap it and swing it again.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it doesn't have trample, and getting it to untap that first time means shooting it with a removal spell of your own, which is not ideal, or hoping your opponent does something stupid. So, yeah. But it feels like a bad red rare, not like a bad red mythic.
Agreed.
Yeah. Mike, you mentioned the Cremator. What does that do?
So Kragenwick Cremator, for 2 red, it's a 5/4 giant shaman. And when it enters the battlefield, discard a card at random, and that's really what's holding it back. If you discard a creature card this way, it deals damage equal to that card's power to target player. So it's a 5 power for 4 mana, and maybe get some extra damage, but that maybe just isn't strong enough with the way it works.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like if it wasn't random, it
Well,
would
yeah, I
be
mean, then it'd be too easy. But it'd have to be something different because then it'd be too easy. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
I like Null Spine Dragon, but
Yeah. What's that do?
so for 5 and 2 red, it's a 7/5 flying dragon. When it enters the battlefield, you may discard your hand. If you do, then draw cards equal to the damage dealt to target opponent this turn. So,
Hmm.
if you've dealt an opponent 5 damage this turn, you draw 5 cards. Pretty simple. If you haven't dealt any damage, you discard your hand. Okay.
Hmm.
I'm a fan of Wheel of Fortune type effects, and this is attached to a dragon. And it has the bonus of, like, again, it ties in with the Spine Rock Knoll. If you've dealt the damage and get to then reveal this, you're going to draw a buttload of cards. But is it mythic?
No.
No. No.
Like it's not even close.
All right.
Wow. Monocolored is just bad.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, it wasn't the focus of the set.
That is
so.
true. Yeah.
it wasn't.
Like
And
Null
that's
Spine
really
Invocation is a card I've always wanted to be good. Like for 1 red, it's a red rare enchantment. Oh god. And it says X and discard a card with converted mana cost X. And the invocation deals X damage to target creature or player. But that's not good. It's just I wish it was good. Like I want it to be.
Yeah. No. Like unless you're talking about a giant fireball, paying this rate for damage just isn't a good rate.
Yeah. Plus you're losing whatever that card was, which
Mm-hmm.
is probably fine if you're willing to throw it away for damage. But it's not, yeah. You can't get rid of like excess land. I mean, you could, but it won't do anything.
You can pay 0 to do it. It's free.
It'll get rid of any of those pesky blue illusion creatures. I pay
Don't look at
0
me,
to deal
no!
0 to that. Ah!
Yeah. It's like the booze in Mario. Like, don't look at me. I'm gone.
A lot of things that care about
Skulking creatures. Yeah.
a lot of things that care about a certain number on the card. Like the Kragenwit Cremator is power. Elemental Mastery is power. Nullspine Dragon is damage dealt to an opponent. Nullspine Invocation is converted mana cost. It's just strange. Fury Stoke Giant turns every one of your creatures into a shock,
That's pretty cool.
which is pretty cool, but still not mythic. Yeah, it's just red sucks.
Oh yeah, creature or player. Okay, yeah. For some reason I misread it, but I thought it was only creatures. But
I mean, that would still
Yeah.
be pretty good, but
starts a bar fight when he comes in.
yeah, everybody punch somebody. Oh well. How about green then?
So green is interesting to me in that it has a little more stuff going on than some of the other colors.
Yeah.
The troll. We talked about the troll, or we said we were going to talk about it, so I want to talk about it because of all of the hideaway creatures, this is the one that I think has the most like going on. For 7 mana, same as the others that we had seen, this is a 5/5 troll. If it would be destroyed, regenerate it.
I
Which is
don't
already,
know
like-
if we'd ever seen that particular
Mm-mm.
text before. I don't think we had.
I don't think we had either. Now it won't protect it from like wither because it'll regenerate and still have 0 toughness. So oops. But and they were trying to move away from Wrath of God as a sweeper because they wanted to print more differenter sweepers. So this could matter. Second ability. Tap any number of untapped creatures you control other than Mossbridge Troll with total power 10 or greater. Mossbridge Troll gets plus 20 until end of turn. And you might go, okay, well, it doesn't have trample, and that's correct. This is instant speed, so you can do combat shenanigans, or they're just gonna, block it forever, but not kill it because it's gonna regenerate. So the other stuff, the other creatures are pretty cool. I like the dragon. The big bird's a big bird, lifelink, But this is a really unique set of abilities. So I'm wondering, what do you guys think? What about the troll? Is it mythic?
I do understand that seeing plus 20 on anything will make you sit up because that's your starting life total.
Yeah.
Right.
But other than that, it's just a big green creature.
Mm-hmm.
Of which we have several in here.
We do have several. Sometimes that's all you need. The other most unique one to me is the Witherscale Worm. Woodfall Primus is cool, but not mythic. There's
I
a lot
love
of
Woodfall
land.
Primus.
There's a lot of land destruction in this set, y'all. Like, I forgot how much later non-land permanent came into use because there's a lot of stuff that can target your lands in this set.
Yeah.
But what? Okay, so you're not sold on the troll. It's a big dumb green creature, which yeah, it is. What do you guys think about troll or other cards in green?
I would lean towards Prismatic Omen.
I was thinking that.
Just because it's so cheap, and I seem to remember when they revealed it, we were all like, "Whoa!"
Oh yeah.
What did we say about the elf in Fifth Dawn? I know we're reaching back, and we probably don't remember, but
I don't recall.
this was
That's the one that gives all your lands tap, adds something of every color.
yeah,
Yeah.
which is not exactly the same as this, but is for most functionality works the same as this. But this can't attack, but it's also harder to blow up.
Yeah. So, for those that don't remember, for 1 and a green, it's an enchantment that says lands you control are every basic land type in addition to their other types. So, like, this fixes your fixing for the rest of forever, as long as it's out. Which,
and anything
in a
that
set,
cares about,
yeah, in a set that's loaded with hybrid mana, like, it
You're good
essentially makes you able to play everything all the time.
yeah. And then you do have synergies. I'm not sure how many would be in the set, but you have synergies with stuff that cares about basic land types.
Yeah. I'm wondering.
Nightmare.
Like yeah, but what was actually in this?
What? What are we talking about?
Well, it's stuff that cares about basic land type. Brian brought up Nightmare, but I'm trying to figure out what was actually in this set. Okay, so there were some things. Corrupt was in Shadowmoor.
Ooh.
There was a similar card in red. I think there might have been a cycle of I care about how many of a basic land you have spells.
If not a cycle, there were at least several. I recently have gone through my commons and uncommons from Lorwyn.
There was off the top of my head, there was Corrupt in red. Was it called Jaws of Stone in red? No,
something
Corrupt in
like
black.
that.
Jaws of Stone in red. Flow of Ideas in blue.
Oh, Flow of Ideas was in this set.
Wow, yeah.
And then I don't remember the green and white ones right now.
I feel like the green one was a creature. Maybe.
Could have been.
Cared about, like, had power and toughness based on lands or something. I don't know. But I feel like that would the Prismatic Omen could have been. I'm not saying this is like, oh, it's totally mythic. I'm saying it could have been one that they they bumped to Mythic just because it's so powerful and so small and concise. Like it's a quiet kind of power, you know?
Right.
Rather than some
I
of the
see-
other things that we've talked about that are big and obvious. This is like, But also, by the same note, it could have just been a rare just as easily.
Yeah.
I see where you're coming from. I think I struggle with it a bit, but I see where you're coming from. This is the type of mythic that they swore they wouldn't do, and then they printed Lotus Cobra. So, yeah. So, which is now a rare. So, anything else in green, or shall we move on to the multis, because we got a lot of multis.
The unique effect of Spawn Wraith stood out to me.
I always wanted to make this work, and so, but everybody was like, shock, and I'm like, yeah, I get it. So, I didn't have any success. Doesn't mean nobody else did.
It is an interesting effect, but it's on such a crappy card that I don't know.
At least it has built-in trample.
It does.
Sure, yeah, on a 2/2. Whoo.
Well, that's what Anthem effects are for, Chewie.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
that's
for 2 and a green, it's a 2/2 elemental with trample, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you get a token copy of it. So
yeah.
can get out of control, requires some work, maybe a bit too much work.
We hear that, whoever that is.
Sorry.
Someone's eating ice cream. I think it's Mike.
It's
Dang.
yogurt.
Because he apologized.
Dang it,
It's
Mike.
yogurt?
It's yogurt. Yep.
You could be eating ice cream.
Right?
Well, we don't make homemade ice cream. We make homemade yogurt.
Oh, look at Mike just flexing on us now.
I know, right? Like, we don't buy it, we make it, you know. Do you hand churn it?
The yogurt? No, it just sits in a yogurt maker overnight.
Okay, so make is a loose term.
All right.
To be fair, this is more yogurt than I've ever made. So, shall we move on to the multicolored?
Yeah, we probably
Okay.
should. The monocolors leave a lot to be desired. Let's
They do.
see
There's a
if-
couple.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say there's just a couple standouts, but after white, we were like, eh. And then like the Banshee in black, but even that we still weren't sold on. So now we've got the good stuff. I'm assuming we're gonna still break this down by color pairs because there's so many.
So let's
right
do
off the
another
bat-
cycle. We've got
Yes.
the Godheads.
The 5 hybrid color symbol dudes. They're basically gods, but not quite.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get the feeling they might have been gods if they weren't hesitant about using that word on a card at that point.
Yeah.
Agreed.
If that
Agreed.
creature type tech existed. Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as it is
But
their
at the
I
time-
think they're all spirit avatars. Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah, they're all spirit avatars. They just didn't want to. They didn't have the guts to say sacrifice a god. You know, I mean, come on. So the gods, or you know which ones we're referring to.
yeah. So like the Godhead of Awe, they all cost 5 of their own 2 hybrids. So the Godhead of Awe is the blue-white one. It's a 4/4 flyer that says other creatures are 1/1. Like
That's
Woo!
is that now? Does that say like base power toughness?
it says,
Other
yes.
creatures have base power and toughness 1/1.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
which
And
is the
that's
same
what it's all
thing.
meant.
yeah, sure. This doesn't override other things.
The
But
Gas
I mean,
Lord.
come on.
Yeah, like the Gas Lord of Fugue is the blue-black one. It's unblockable. It's a 4/4. And when it deals combat damage to a player, the player reveals their hand, you choose a card, and they exile it.
Yeah.
Which
And that's not even like, that may not appear to be the biggest one, but that's huge. Like ripping a card away from them every turn. And it's
Yeah.
unblockable.
and a 4/4 unblockable is just not something you see.
No.
Mm-hmm.
The Demigod of Revenge, the black-red one, is a 5/4 with flying and haste. And when you cast it, you return all cards named Demigod of Revenge from your graveyard to the battlefield, which means they can attack. And, you know, the Godhead, you're like, holy crap. The one that the Gas Lord, you're like, holy crap. This one may seem like, oh, it's just a big dumb beat stick. How many games did this close out? In Constructed. A lot of them. This one was
It's
not
also
busted.
the pre-release card.
Yeah.
This card.
This one, you almost had to be playing at the time. Like, everybody had 4 of these because it was they just kept coming over and over again.
It was good. It was real good.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, and things that
Green.
exiled individual cards from the graveyard were nowhere near as common as they are now.
No.
No,
Like,
Graveyard Hate was.
It was really
super
hard to get
Yeah.
those Demigods of Revenge out of the graveyard because, you know, one would come
Yeah.
at you, you'd kill it, and you'd be like, I have to win before they draw the second one.
And they're like, I've already got 2 in my hand. Man.
Exactly.
Sorry. Yeah. And it was not. This was not a graveyard focused set, so they didn't have a ton of answers. So
The Deus of Calamity, or the
it's
Deuce.
just rude. Just rude.
The Deuce.
This thing. I'm telling you, great land hate, man.
Yeah, it is a 6/6 with trample. It's the red-green one. When it deals 6 or more damage to an opponent, destroy target land that player controls.
Just
Which, like, this one is the most mean-spirited, I think, but probably
it
the
is.
least,
It is.
Oh, it
probably
is.
the
I mean,
least
even-
impressive.
Even the blue-black one is like, dang, son, at least I'm not blowing up your land. It's a
At
good
least I
thing this
only
one.
dealt you 4.
Yeah.
Luckily,
The
it's
only
not
thing-
deals combat damage. It's deals 6 or more damage.
Yeah. And it does not have haste, which is honestly super important.
Yeah.
This one didn't see play, but that's probably because anybody that would play it would be taken out back and beat up. So
What's the
And
last?
then what
Oh,
was
the
the-
Oversoul.
Oversoul of Dusk. I always forget about this one.
but it's
Yeah.
so hard to kill.
Mm-hmm.
What's it
Yeah,
do?
It's a 5/5 with protection from blue, black, and red. Well, okay, more specifically, protection from blue, from black, and from red. So all 3 of those things.
It's still worded that way too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's the white green sword? Sword of something and something.
I don't remember the names of the new swords. I don't know
I-
them.
No.
I just want to find that sword and stick it on this thing and just be like, ah, this was a lot of effort to make a, who's that Hydra that's protection from everything? Yeah.
Progenitus.
Yes. But still, I would feel real good about it.
But
But
the Oversoul
so-
of Dusk doesn't have anything special going on. It's just, as it was said, incredibly hard to kill. And remember,
Yeah.
protection in a set loaded with hybrids. This almost says unblockable.
Unblockable, indestructible, you can't target it with anything that would blow it up.
Yeah. Because you can't bounce it, you can't kill it, you can't damage spell it to death because it's got protection from those things.
It is the least rude of these god cards, as we're just going to refer to them. It's the least rude. It doesn't turn your stuff into 1/1s or whatever. It's just going to win the game. That's all it's going to do. It's just win you the game in the meantime. Through being good.
Yeah. I think these were probably mythics, like, right? They had to be, right?
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. 5 hybrid mana
I feel
symbols in each one. and each one is iconic of those color combinations. Yes, they're mythic. Dirk, do you agree?
I would have to agree.
Dirk has to agree. See.
He doesn't want to, but he'll
Yeah.
do it.
I mean, there are some that again I think are weaker than others, but
Yeah.
all in all, they do drastically change the dynamic of the board.
Like
Yeah, they do.
like a lot.
Like,
Yeah.
I still love the very first one, the Godhead of All. That one just makes everyone go.
Oh.
The Godhead of all.
Oh
Yeah.
no!
Does each color also gets a little lord, but I think these are very safely rare.
Yeah.
Yeah, the lieges. Yeah.
The lieges.
Possibly even
Uh,
uncommons at this point, but we're not talking about this
Possible at this point, but I think at rare they were okay back then because a lot of stuff like Lord of Atlantis and those things would be rare.
point. Yeah.
The blue white one is the Thistledown Liege. All of these have other blank creatures you control get +1/+1, and two instances of that, one for each of their colors. So for this one, other white creatures get +1/+1, other blue creatures you control get +1/+1, and some ability. The white blue one has flash.
Yeah. The blue black one has flying.
Nice.
The black red one, I always forget this one exists.
Yeah.
What's it do, Mike?
It's a 4/1, and whenever it becomes, it's the Shadowmoor Liege. It's a 4/1, and whenever it becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, that player loses 4 life.
Forget about that one too.
So it has the
Yeah.
Don't Touch Me.
It's like when they go to kill it, it punches them because it has four power. You know.
Yeah.
The red green one has trample.
Mm-hmm.
And where'd it go? The Wilt Leaf Liege. Oh, it's the anti-discard one.
Yeah.
This one had its own whole like sideboard card thing going on
Yeah.
Yeah.
later in life. But if an opponent,
Yeah.
if a spell or an ability an opponent controls causes you to discard it, it goes onto the battlefield instead of the graveyard.
Yeah. So for something like that, I think it's probably rare versus just uncommon. These others would just flash flying, but the fact that they effectively for your hybrid colors don't give you +1/+1, they give you +2/+2. I think puts them over the edge to rare. Just thinking about it, but not mythic, So 2 cycles down, one very mythic, one very solidly rare.
Yeah.
Individual cards. AKA Swans of Bryn Argyle, and why everybody else is wrong if they don't think it's Swans of Bryn Argyle.
I think in terms of big dumb flashiness, World Purge.
Possibly.
That's my choice.
This is
World
another one of
Purge is
those.
so
I can
dumb.
see it going either way. What's it do, Mike?
It's so stupid. It costs a total of 8. Oh God, I thought it was 7, but it's 8. 4 and 4 white blue hybrids. It's a sorcery. Return all permanents to their owner's hands. Each player chooses up to 7 cards in their hand, then shuffles the rest into their library. Empty all mana pools.
No, don't empty us.
No.
So this was them trying not to do
Trying not to make the upheaval mistake again.
upheaval psychotog, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Float mana, bounce everything, then replay stuff, and your opponents would just be out of luck.
but maybe the solution is just not print a card that says return all lands to their owner's hands, because that makes for a dumb game.
You'd think it'd be that easy.
Because you're 8 plus turns in, and now everybody's starting over.
Except their life total didn't get reset.
Yes. Yes.
Man, I hate this card.
Yeah.
Is it
Actually-
mythic?
I think that the fact that it empties all mana pools probably would push it back down from Mythic. Does that make sense? Like, that's just a kick in the balls.
I get it, but it wouldn't be printable if they didn't have that. Because
I mean,
you'd
that's
have
true.
the same problem.
Yeah. I don't know they should have printed it in the first place. But I get what they're going for. I'm reminded of Jeff Goldblum's character in Jurassic Park. They tried so hard to think if they could do it, they didn't stop to think if they should.
Yeah. Man, I hate
We want to
this
create a sub game. We want to create a new sub game card, like Shahrazad or Into the Dungeon, but not. So, Swans of Bryn Argyle is actually mythic. Fight me. For 2 and 2 white blue hybrid is a 4/3 bird spirit with flying because it's a bird. If a source would deal damage, combat or otherwise, to Swans of Bryn Argyle, prevent that damage. The source's controller draws cards equal to the damage prevented this way.
Why is this mythic? Other than the fact that it was its own deck. Like, why is this mythic?
Because this is a really unique card. It's a damage replacement effect, which is very white, not super blue, but then the card draw kicks in, I guess, for blue. But so it's a unique effect that combines both effects of their respective colors. It's a very efficient creature. It's a 4/3 for 4 with flying. And the deck building it opens up on both its controller as well as kind of an incentive for the opponent as well. Like, if I'm building this deck, am I also finding ways to damage it myself to be like, oh look, I get to draw these cards now. Do I splash red for lightning bolt, or do I, attack with it and play, name a white card that deals damage to an attacking creature? It's super resistant to most removal that isn't like point and click destroy that. So it's I don't know why it wouldn't be mythic, I guess is the question.
I just see it as a drawback on a creature.
I think it's a potential. Sorry, go ahead. I don't want
like,
to.
Other than what was the card that what was this used with? Was it
Seismic Assault? And
yeah.
the deck had like 30 something lands in it.
Yeah. How did you win?
You just so you started by pointing lands at the Swans until you've drawn enough to
to just nuke your opponent. Okay.
And get them in one shot.
Yeah.
Because you discard 1 land to deal 2 damage, which means you're discarding 1 land to draw 2.
Yes.
So other than like that type of combo thing, like, to me this says it's an unkillable sort of like with damage creature, but it gives my opponent lots of cards.
Mm-hmm.
So I see that as a card I wouldn't want to necessarily like play in limited,
Yeah.
Because they're gonna throw stuff
broader.
into it and draw a bunch of cards, and then I'm gonna die.
Brian, I wonder if this is something where it's getting just colored by its reputation instead of what it says.
Maybe, but I think I felt this way about this like since day one. And again, maybe it's the Johnny in me, but I'm just like, yes, it's potentially a drawback, but it's also a reminder of a time when they would dare to print creatures with drawbacks. But again, it's such a unique effect that this is the question of who's going to get more out of it. You or the opponent. The opponent may potentially draw cards if you attack into it or if they have the right colors or whatever. But you also have, as Chewie even said, an almost unkillable 4/3 flyer. So you might just win in the meantime. I'm sticking with it, but I definitely see Chewie's point. It may be too much of a drawback. I think it's super flashy and unique, and that's enough for me.
Yeah, like I saw this back in the day as a card with a major drawback that got exploited by clever deck building. And then, look, my point refuted Brian so hard he coughed and died.
It's true.
Oh wait, never
And
mind.
I'm speaking from beyond the grave.
So yeah, but that's just me and you. So Mike, where do you and Dirk stand on that?
Ooh.
On the Swans?
Yeah.
I mean,
I feel like it's just an out there rare card.
yeah, it's a really good card, and you can like the deck's been built around. I've thrown it in a deck. I was trying to debate. I don't know if that's in a current commander deck, or if I've been debating building a deck around, like throwing it into a commander deck, but it's. I don't know if it would be mythic, but it is a really good card that can, be used abusively. But I don't know if that means mythic. It's not like again when it hits the board that everyone just turns their head like, oh no, or things like that. Or if it's just okay, mental note, don't do this and that to not worry about it.
The world may never know.
No.
One of the things
Okay,
I love
well-
about Mythic Conscription is we get to see the way each of our brains function.
It's true. What else in blue white do you guys think? Maybe mythic, or do you just want to move to the next color?
I always liked
Keep
Mirror
going.
Weave.
Mirror Weave is really cool.
It's cool, but it's rare, in my opinion. But go ahead.
That was all I had. Was I really like it, and I could see it being mythic, but I could also easily see it not being mythic. Like
Right.
the thing with Mirror Weave is for 2 and 2 blue white hybrid, it's an instant. It's an instant. It says each other creature becomes a copy of target non-legendary creature until end of turn. So like the dream is always to have like a bunch of weenies, Kithkin tokens or something, and then turn them all into copies of whatever big ass thing is on the board, and then swing with them.
Right.
But it's each other creature. It's not each of your other creatures, which is probably what keeps it from jumping up to mythic, because it's too symmetrical.
Mm-hmm.
But look at the art, though. They're all the little Kithkin with the beard. Oh. Yeah, that's all I got. You guys? Should we go to blue black?
Yeah.
All right, then. So we're torn on World Purge and Swans, but not on Godhead. Got it.
No, not at all. I always wanted to make Dire Undercurrents work. I don't know that it's worth it, but that doesn't really matter when there's an Una in the room, because Una is mythic every way, shape, form. I mean, I know I said that about the Swans and we had a discussion, but Una is literally the antagonist of the entire 4-block story.
Yep.
Spoiler alert for a story that's from a long time ago, 16 years ago. Haha. And is a legendary creature with a amazing effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on your side with Una.
Yeah, Una's absolutely mythic.
Which doesn't mean we can't have other stuff here, but I don't feel pressure to be like, oh yeah, the Gas Lord and question mark. It's clearly at least Una, you know.
Yeah. So what's she do?
For 3 and 3 blue black hybrid, she is a legendary fairy wizard with flying. She's a 5/5. Her ability, let me pull up the Oracle text just to make sure I'm reading this as cleanly as possible. But her ability is pay X mana and a blue black hybrid. Choose a color. Target opponent exiles the top X cards of their library. For each card of the chosen color exiled this way, create a 1/1 blue and black fairy rogue creature token with flying. Now, regardless of the color you choose, they're still losing that many cards. It's just a question of, do you get a bunch of fairies, which in this set is important because they're blue and black, so they'll get pumped by, the liege and all that. And they're fairies, which there's lots of fairy lords hanging around from Lorwyn and such.
Oh my god.
So yeah, fairies.
Yeah.
And they're rogues, which will be important 3 months later when Eventide comes out. And
Also, I had forgotten this. She doesn't tap to do that, so she still have a 5/5
Nope.
flyer with which to punch people.
Yes.
with which to punch people. I like that. Yeah,
You know,
Spot
of course,
on.
because we're in hybrid land, something. And she doesn't really particularly care about the colors you're playing. You don't even have to be doing both colors if you don't feel like it.
nah,
You could just be doing blue or black.
yeah, yeah.
And because, again, of the hybrid nature of the set, you're more likely to get more fairies by choosing wisely. Because so many of the cards that your, let's say, black-red opponent is playing might have some, might have other colors sprinkled in, but the ones that miss probably don't miss. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Because if they're
No,
playing
I'm right
black
there.
and red, in normal sets they're playing black or red, but there's a bunch of cards in the deck that are going to be black and red. So
Yes.
so
May
that just
only
makes
be
her more
whiffing on
powerful.
lands. Yeah.
Yeah, the rest of the stuff is fine, but
Fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Like Sig is fine.
I love Sig. Sig has always been a card that I just throw in commander decks if
Yeah,
there's a hole.
but he's good, but he's fine. He's not
Yeah,
like
he is not even remotely mythic.
Yeah.
Like Cemetery Puka's neat, but not.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, but not mythic. It's a weird cloney thing, kind of,
yeah.
sort of.
Memory Plunder is one of those ones, kind of like World Purge, where they're trying to avoid the mistakes of the past, and they're like, "Oh, Yawgmoth's will was broken, so this cost 4, and only targets one thing, and is fine, but not special."
Yeah,
Sorry, Memory Plunder, you're not special.
not. Sorry, Grinch, Marrow, Cutthroat. Be a Grinch, like be a Minch, but Grinch. Okay, anyway. Black Red.
Dirk and Mike, you guys okay on Black Blue?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Black Red.
Okey-dokey.
Black red.
So we already covered the demigod.
Yeah.
It is okay. Elephant in the room. Putting aside tournaments, because Fulminator Mage was everywhere. Remember, I said several minutes ago, sideboard cards. Yeah, Fulminator Mage was like a 4 of. in a lot of decks, main deck and or sideboard.
Yeah.
Not like an yeah.
Yeah, no. Fulminator Mage is very good, super important, not mythic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think of a wasteland that doesn't set you back on lands. Isn't the land you play for the turn. And yes, but I don't want to sound like I'm not here. It's not mythic. That's what I'm saying is putting aside how it did in tournaments, it's very solidly a rare.
Oh yeah.
So, but
Uh,
what
Everlasting
God,
Torment is always a card.
That's the one I was going to point out.
Yeah, it's always a card that
I
changes the game, and I know that's how Dirk likes to look at whether or not something is a
Mythics.
mythic,
yeah.
and it changes the game in such a bizarre way. So for 2 and a black-red hybrid, it's an enchantment. Players can't gain life. Damage can't be prevented, and all damage is dealt as though its source had Wither.
It's always really interesting to the contrast between a game where damage does not persist. Not I know that word is, but where damage doesn't stick around, like Magic,
And then
compared
Hearthstone, where
and then
damage
Hearthstone,
is persistent. Yeah.
Lorcana, damage is persistent, so you need to use damage markers. And Wither blurs the line because it is persistent damage in Magic. So, and here, this is players can't gain life, so they can't your life totals keeps reducing. You can't prevent damage, and damage sticks around from Wither. And it says all damage is dealt as though source had Wither. So, not just your creatures, but your lightning bolts. All of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's mythic.
See, I wouldn't have gone that hard on it, but
Oh yeah, I'm shaking my finger, but for the impact it has on the game, and like you said, I know that's one for Dirk, but I agree. If something really fundamentally changes the way the game is played, shared fate,
ah,
that sort of thing, then it at least deserves contention. I think it probably gets there, and it's not stupid expensive, which does not prevent a card from being mythic. We've talked about sometimes a big cost is like, whoa, but this is efficient enough. It will come down while the game still matters. This costing like 7 is going to be like, oh, but no, this costs 3.
yeah.
Dirk, what do you think?
I mean, it's a little terrifying. It makes the game kind of like it definitely puts me on back footing.
The game will end. Oh yes.
Oh yeah, it will.
This will not be a 3-hour game, and if it is, good lord.
Someone took forever on their turn.
Sorry.
Anything else? Anything else in black? Den of the Fire Herd is a really, really big effect, but
it's solidly rare. Spiteful Visions is just a combination Howling Mine and like Damage Source.
And Underworld Dreams, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, and Tyrannize is just an uncommon. So
Yeah,
I forgot.
Brian, when you mentioned Everlasting Torment, it just costs 3, so it can be played when it can still matter to the game. Tyrannize has that problem of, okay, 5 mana. Your opponent is basically choosing between, paying 7 life or discarding 3 cards. It's like, it'll be easy for them that choice.
I forgot Tyrannize existed until I was doing the research for this episode.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So
Okay.
red green.
Red green. Impromptu raid wants to be sneak attack so badly, it's just not getting there.
Yeah, it's like sneak attack that isn't busted.
Well, it's a little closer to Call of the Wild.
That's true.
Oh yeah. God, how did I forget call it? I guess because sneak attack is more bigger and flashier.
Well, and sneak attack is also 1 red to activate.
Yeah.
So, not 3. Vexing Shusher, again, like Fulminator Mage. Jeez, this set went hard on the... It's like they're like, okay, we've got hybrid, so we definitely have to address color hosers, because that's a big... I remember, like, getting copies of Vexing Shusher, thinking, this is it, this is going to be a tournament staple forever. And I think it's good. I don't think it ever got to that status. It does. I don't think it's unique enough to be a mythic, nor do I think it actually impacts the game. The games where it matters, it's ridiculous, and the games where it doesn't matter, it's just like a 2/2.
Yeah.
So
it is
yeah.
another of those super awesome sideboard cards.
Yeah. What about the legends? Wart, the Raid Mother, and Roshin Meander.
Was wondering about Wart.
Yeah, Wart is probably the closest one that I would see here, and I don't think she tips the scale for me, but she's pretty close. What's she do, Dirk?
So, Wart the Raid Mother for 4 and 2 red-green hybrid mana is a 3/3 legendary creature. When Wart the Raid Mother comes into play, put 2 1/1 red and green Goblin Warrior creature token into play. Each red or green instant or sorcery spell you play has Conspire. So, in the reminder text says, as you play the spell, you may tap 2 untapped creatures you control that share a color. When you do, copy it, and you may choose new targets for the spell or for the copy.
Yeah, so because she spits out 2 red-green creatures, and presumably you're playing her, so you're playing red-green spells, you can now make a copy of any spell you play. Because the creatures just have share a color with the spell.
Yes.
And yeah, like I said, she's really good. Like, she was one of those early cards that EDH players made as their commander. Like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot. Everyone loved Wart the Raid Mother back in the beginning times of EDH.
Yeah. I remember.
So, like I said, she's the one who gets the closest for me, and she's not there for me personally, but I could see the argument.
Ironically, one of my first EDH decks was with Roshin Meanderer.
Yeah.
But I think she's a fun build around me card. But she's just a mana source. For 3 and a green-red hybrid, she's a 4/4 giant shaman. So 4 for a 4/4, that's good. Her ability is tap, add 4 colorless mana to your mana pool. Spend this mana only on costs that contain X, which is kind of neat and unique.
Oh, she is 4 colorless mana. That's neat. I just pulled up her. Her.
Is it enough? Text. Is it enough to get there, especially like over Wart? I don't know. I mean, it's neat.
It is super neat.
And there's, but it's just a mana battery. I don't know. I don't know that she gets there.
I don't think so myself. I would go for Wart over Roshin, as cool as Roshin is. You other guys?
No.
Was that for Roshin or in general?
Both. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Well, getting to the end. End. Dirk, you still with us?
Yep, I'm here.
So green white. Heartmender is weirdly like a persist lord.
Yeah. It is.
Like for 2 and 2 white green hybrid, it's a 2/2 elemental with persist. And it says at the beginning of your upkeep, remove a -1/-1 counter from each creature you control. Which means all of your persist, as long as it can survive to your next upkeep, will keep persisting forever.
Yeah.
And it's wolf, boar, goat, spider, snake, nightmare fuel.
Well, some of the stuff, even in Lorwyn, if you remember, like the some of the weird elementals are kind of trippy and out there. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of mythic in the same way that the Banshee was mythic. If we think that was the case, it it does something here, but
Yep, for some reason,
outside.
because it's purely defensive and less offensive, it doesn't do much for me.
And it doesn't like if your stuff isn't dying, it doesn't do anything. Your stuff that doesn't have persist. I mean, yes, it gets rid of wither, but it's also a 2/2.
Yeah.
Now, it will remove counters from itself, so it's really hard to kill. I don't know. For some reason, I'm just looking. I'm just like, not like I hate it, but not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just not.
I only brought it up because of the discussion on the Midnight Banshee that we had. So
Yeah, I'd say maybe not. I'm looking real hard at Wheel of Sun and Moon though.
yeah.
Okay. So
What's that do?
So Wheel of Sun and Moon for 2 green white hybrid is an aura enchantment. Enchant player, which a lot of times is going to be you, but sometimes it's going to be Mike. Because Mike loves his graveyard. If a card will be put into enchanted player's graveyard from anywhere, instead that card is revealed and put on the bottom of that player's library. So most of the time it's going to be like, oh, look, my stuff is never going to go into my graveyard. It's just going to be recycled through. If I've got tutors or other things, maybe I'll find it again or I'll just draw it naturally. But every now and then,
Anti-milling tech.
Anti-milling tech for well, actually, it doesn't protect against Una, does it? Because she exiles.
Yeah.
But anti-other milling tech. But then every now and then, Mike plays a Mimeoplasm deck, and you're just like, you don't get to have a graveyard this time until you blow up the Wheel of Sun and Moon, which is not fun for Mike and probably not fun for me because then he's gonna kill me. So his deck works, but I think it affects the game. It doesn't affect the game in a very super in your face way, the way that the Everlasting Torment does, but I think the potential is there.
Yeah, it's weird. It's another like Uber sideboard card, but because it's so weird, my brain jumps to it over the Shusher and the Fulminator and all that. Like,
yeah, it could be a weird sideboard card, but it can also be. You can also do something with it proactively.
You can make it be you can make it do something for you. Whereas like the Shusher, you're not gonna play and then like give someone counter spells so you can negate it.
Yeah.
I had my eye on the Wheel of Sun and Moon and on Rhys the Redeemed because he's one of the major story characters. Although ironically, Rhys in the Lorwyn part is way more prominent than Rhys in the Shadowmoor part, where he's still a protagonist, but kind of just recruited by some of the more proactive people. So
yeah, and his card in Lorwyn was worse, and this one is way better.
This is way better.
This was another of those early commander decks. Leads.
Oh yeah,
like if you were gonna make an elf deck, you probably had Rhys as your commander.
Yeah.
So yeah, Dirk, what's he do?
So
if you're still awake.
Yeah. For the red white. I am tired. green-white hybrid. Just the one. It's a 1/1 legendary creature for 2 and red green-white hybrid.
Dirk doesn't have red-green color blindness as far as vision goes, but he has red-green color blindness as far as reading Magic cards goes.
Yes, that's true. And tap. Put a 1/1 green and white elf warrior creature token into play. And 4 and green and white, or 2 green-white hybrids, and tap. For each creature token you control, put a token into play that's a copy of that creature.
Yeah, so all creature tokens that he that you wanted to build around, you would put Reese in there. Elves, saprolings, just assorted nonsense. Oh, make Reese your commander. But again, he doubles things. Which is cool. And everybody just got quiet.
I like doubling things, and he gives you stuff to double in the first place. So
Yeah.
And this was before, what was it, Populate or whatever came out with the second
Populate.
Ravnica. Yeah. So
Yeah, that would still be
So-
way off.
so at least in green white, there's more stuff to talk about. We don't have to go into like Oracle of Nectars, which is
Bad.
very he's probably uncommon, am I right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And Fracturing Gust is a selective sweeper.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Sure.
cool, but yeah.
Yeah, I think Reese it goes without saying, and Wheel of Sun and Moon is a possibly.
Is possibly. And, again, the Oversoul is right there. So,
Oh yeah, and the Oversoul is right there. Look, it's just this one row.
yeah.
So artifacts, there's only 3,
Mhm.
There's only 3.
and
Well,
No?
colorless artifacts.
No.
The Painter's Servant gets a real hard look, but I think that's because of what it did later.
That's reputation. Yes.
yeah,
That's reputation. It's in the same set as Uno, though. So, but it's not Uno that was the problem. It was it Whetstone?
Grindstone.
Grindstone. that's the one,
Grindstone.
yeah.
Jeez.
2-card
Jeez.
instant win.
Yeah. Two cheap card instant win. Just
So-
like, I'm going to win on turn 3.
Painter's Servant, for those that don't know, is a 2-mana 1/3 scarecrow. When it enters the battlefield, you choose it. As it enters the battlefield, you choose a color. And all cards. Hang on, let me make sure I'm reading this properly. All cards that aren't on the battlefield, spells, and permanents are the chosen color in addition to their other colors. So, Painter's Servant with Grindstone, it was like mill some number of cards. If they share a color, do it again.
Yeah, 2 cards. Mhm.
Oh, yeah. So,
What are the odds that they'll share a color? And eventually you'll hit a land, right?
yeah, except Painter's Servant makes
But-
everything that color. So that was like a legacy deck for, it might still be for
Yeah.
all I know. I don't know.
I don't know. It could be. Yeah, I remember the most common version at the time was mono red, because you could play Imperial Recruiter, which was kind
Yep.
of dug up out of obscurity and got super expensive,
Yep.
because it could go find the Painter Servant. And if you had the Painter Servant and hadn't found Grindstone yet, then you get Painter Servant, you name blue, and then you have a bunch of Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blasts to just sit there and counter stuff and destroy stuff until you can find Grindstone.
Jesus. And then, like, Grim Puppet is fun, Cauldron of Souls is whatever, but no one cares.
Cauldron of Souls is, here's a hint. Don't ever put your commander under Cauldron of Souls.
That was
I know we were-
Kolfenber's turn.
Coffin, oh, jeez.
Yeah, Cauldron
too
of Souls
many-
is the thing that gives things persist.
Persist. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But
Those are
there's the
rare.
Reaper King.
Then there's the Reaper King that's mythic. Because when this came out, and EDH was really taken off because I remember going through this set and doing a lot of EDH. How many options were there for Wooburg? There was this
Yeah,
and Corona and
Sliver Queen.
the Sliver Queen.
Sliver Queen and Chromat.
Chromat. Yeah, there we go.
And Chromat. So this was like a fourth one. Now there's like 20 more. But this was also the one that was arguably the most open-ended. So depending on, I remember having this debate with people about EDH in general, and like, do you run a Scarecrow EDH deck, or are you just trying to get a 5-color EDH deck? And I feel like more often than not, it was the latter. Just
yeah, because
there weren't
Sliver
that many
Queen was
Scarecrows.
very old and very rare. Like,
Hard to get.
yeah.
Even at the time.
And Chromat.
And if you were playing that, you had to play a Sliver deck because, I mean, come on.
Yeah. And like Chromat was just a bad card that happened to be 5 colors. But if you didn't have one, you just didn't have one. And what was the other one?
Corona.
And Corona's
And
just
mentioned-
awful. So
you mentioned bad cards. But
so like
yeah.
Reaper King was just
better
another
because it
option,
wasn't-
and it was easily obtainable because it was the new set, you know.
It was a new set, and it's honestly easy to play, and you might have something in it like a Painter's Servant or whatever that then you vindicate.
Yeah, and
And
also
there were plenty of other Scarecrows in the set.
oh yeah, there
So-
were a bunch of Scarecrows
Yeah.
in the set. But like
Yeah.
because of the mana cost, that's really it. It costs a hybrid of 2 mana or the color for all 5 colors. I don't know how you
Yeah.
say that. But
No, that's a good job with that.
yeah, and it's a 6/6 legendary Scarecrow that says other Scarecrow creatures you control get +1/+1. Woo. But the big thing is whenever another Scarecrow enters the battlefield under your control, destroy target permanent, which is huge. But
And don't
again,
forget
in the
the
early
iconic-
days of EDH, just having a commander that was 5 colors was a big
that
deal.
was all you needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the iconic flavor text.
It's harvest time. So stupid.
Is it not mythic because it's 5-color? It's a 5-color card that you technically don't even have to spend colored mana to play
Yeah.
at all. And it's a Scarecrow Lord, and Scarecrows were kind of new for this set. I feel like it's mythic straight up. Right?
Yeah, I feel like they'd have made the Reaper King
Yeah.
mythic just because
Yeah.
it's the Reaper
Yeah.
King and it's harvest time.
Yeah.
Like
It is hard. Yeah, it totally is.
so that's all of the colored things and the uncolored things except for lands. Quick question, is Reflecting Pool mythic or is that just silly? I feel like that's silly, but I have to ask. What was that, Mike?
Mike?
No, it's not mythic.
Okay.
It's rare.
It is a chase rare.
Yeah.
It is one of those rares you open the packs for, but it's not mythic.
No.
Why are the lands listed under rares? That's weird.
I'm not
Because there
sure.
have been versions of them with rare symbols on them.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awkward.
Kind of like how things that have, kind of like how uncommons that have been reprinted at rare in other places that show up in our searches sometimes.
So wait, does that mean basics are just always at the bottom of these and my brain doesn't register them?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Weird.
Okay.
All right. Well, it is late and we've managed to get through all of these. Be sure, let us know where we're wrong. Because I'm sure there are some of these where you're all like, are you guys stupid? And yeah, obviously.
Yeah. Well, clearly.
So let us know what you think. What were the big question marks? The Swans.
Mm-hmm.
Everlasting Torment. The Wheel of Sun
Did
and
we-
Moon.
Did we miss anything in monocolor that you're just like, really?
Yeah.
How was that not? Yeah.
So yeah, let us know in the YouTube comments or in the Discord or wherever. And yeah, because I really want to know what you guys think because like I said, I love the way that our Mythic Conscriptions show off how each of our brains work. And
True.
on this one, we were divided on a bunch, which is
were.
not normal these days.
Right.
No,
But-
this was fascinating.
Yeah, that was our next to last non-core set Mythic Conscription. Only one left, and then we'll be done with this feature until we decide what to do about some core sets. That's crazy to me.
Yeah. We've been
So-
doing this a long time.
We have. I need to go back and find when the first one was, because, wow. But how about some final thoughts then, my dorks?
I'm gonna go because I am being summoned to see to Sam because Sam is still up doing homework, which
Nice.
this is too late. But got to teach wow, it is late. Mike some Lorcana. That was awesome. Got to see them. Getting my car repaired, which is, a good thing. It's supposed to be repaired. Work is crazy. Life is good. I'm hoping that we do another show this year, but I know we've got other stuff going on. So I hope everyone out there on the internet is being healthy and safe and is doing well in this time of the year. I know that it's such a contradiction for a lot of people. It's the happiest time of the year, and for other people, that just brings them down. So I hope everybody out there just remembers that things can always get better, and I hope you're already doing well to begin with. That's all I got. You guys have a fantastic evening.
Yeah, night, B.
Good night.
Zerk, what you got?
Just I'm looking forward to the end of the school. Well, the classes this year. We've got today's the 7th. So next week is my last full week of the school year, or of this year. When we after we come back from the break, I'll still have those classes for a little while before we take our final exams. But I'm glad we're coming to the end. I'm a little exhausted from my students and everything else. Just one of those things. Teaching is a little exhausting.
It's true.
All right. Well, with that, I'm headed to bed, guys.
Night, Zerk.
Night.
Beardy Man, what you got going on?
Not much else. Not much else. It was nice to see to visit with Brian and Carrie and Samantha last weekend. But besides that, nothing really. Just within the past week or so, we've watched the finale episode of the season of the shows that we've been following: Taskmaster and British Baking Show and Dancing with the Stars. So if we want to kind of find something else to watch, since all of those are over for the time being.
That's why now there's the magic of streaming services, so you don't have to wait on things.
Well, yeah, I
to
know.
air.
We've been watching all of those things on streaming services. So
Oh.
we yeah, I think we only watched one episode of Dancing with the Stars live on broadcast television. The others we just didn't get around to it till later.
Huh. Well, I know you're not looking for shows, but I have a movie suggestion for all of you out there. Actually, if you have Hulu, I highly recommend. And this is going to sound really stupid, but trust me on this: The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot. It sounds like it would be schlocky crap, but it's Sam Elliott is the main character.
Okay.
Well, he's the main actor. Sam Elliott is not a character in the movie. But it's primarily a movie about like grief and regret. Like, he is, in fact, the man who killed Hitler. But that's not the point of the movie. That's just a thing that happens in a flashback. And he is then tasked with killing the Bigfoot. And that's not a spoiler, because one, it's in the title, and two, on the Hulu description, it's like, the man who killed Hitler is tasked with taking down another huge threat, the Bigfoot. And I was like, this is going to be stupid. And no, it was a very, like, slow-paced, deliberate, like, look at an old man who's sad. And when it was over, I was like, that was surprisingly good for a movie named The Man Who Killed Hitler and then the Bigfoot. So yeah, it fell off of Hulu for a while. I guess someone else got the rights to have it for a month or two. And now it's back. And that's where I watched it, like, I don't know, a month ago or a few weeks ago or whenever it was. And I was like, huh, why was that not stupid? So there you go. And then while you're on Hulu, just watch Bob's Burgers. Screw it.
Oh, yeah. That'll be good.
And Letterkenny. Everyone should watch Letterkenny.
I watched the Bob's Burgers movie on a long plane ride last year, and it was really good. I liked it a lot.
I still need to watch that.
It's good.
Damn it. Yeah. So is that it for you then, Mr. Beard?
It is. That's all that's going on right.
Fair enough. Well, before I get into what I've been dealing with, hey, don't forget patreon.com/themanapool. You know the deal by now. Let me thank our Mythic Lifeguards: Al, Kimho, Scuzzo, John Parker, Jake Jansen's, Michael? That's weird. Timu Hillis Haru, Jason Kaus, Casey, Jason Doan. A lot of Jasons in here. Don't trust them. ALK Alters, and Andrew Odie. Thank you all and everyone for your continued support. So what I've been working on is two big things, both involving spreadsheets. There's the Lord of the Rings magic card ordering Deep End project, because once these videos are done, they're going to go on the Deep End channel, so be sure you subscribe to the Deep End on YouTube. And I've made it through the first full pass of Fellowship of the Ring, including the prologue. I thought I was done when I mentioned it to you guys, and I hadn't done the prologue yet. So I went back and did the prologue, which was harder than I expected, which is why I skipped over it in the first place. But, yeah, that's done, mostly. I realized I didn't put any versions of Sauron in anywhere where it was appropriate. So I spent a piece of today before I went to do a dash shift trying to figure out where to slot those in. Because there are like 8 versions of Sauron, if you count different cards and different arts.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, oh, God, I got to figure out where to put these. So I went in and dropped in 3 in appropriate places where people were talking about Sauron. I have no idea what to do with the second version of Sauron the Necromancer. The word necromancer appears 1 time in Lord of the Rings.
Huh.
And I looked at every other time that Dol Guldur, which was his fortress in Mirkwood,
Yeah.
was mentioned, and that's not a place to put him. And I was like, damn it. So I'm going to hope that him being deposed from Dol Guldur comes up again somewhere in the future, so I can put the second version somewhere. Because I'm not going to do like, okay, Sauron was mentioned. Here's 5 different arts of him. Like, I'm not going to do that. That's silly.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm going to start the 2 towers. And once everything is ordered and I've got everything, you know, all the cards placed, which is the main, you know, task at the moment. First was acquiring all of the images and getting the spreadsheet set up. Then now it's ordering them. And after that, it'll be figuring out the angle to take on it and writing the scripts, and then it'll be
Right.
recording the scripts and putting the videos together, which those will be the fun parts. Right now it's not tedious, but it's because it's actually a lot of fun, weirdly enough, to read a line and be like, I recognize that. And go flip through the cards until I see it all in a flavor text and go, aha! And so, yeah. But the other thing I've been working on is a charity stream. I haven't done a charity stream since 2018, it turns out, and that's too long. So, at some point, I'm going to not do it right before Christmas.
Right.
Because that just seems like not a good way to get money raised for charity. So sometime at the beginning of the new year, I'm going to be doing a big-ass charity stream for at least one day, possibly a whole weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be Chivos for Charity, where I'm going to hunt down achievements on games on Steam for the duration of the stream. You know, achievements that don't require a lot of grinding, but do require some effort that I have to like focus on to get them, you know? That sort of thing. And we'll randomly select achievements, and I've got a giant spreadsheet of almost 900 Steam games to give away to people that donate. So I haven't worked out the details of how to do all that just yet, but you know, I've got plenty of time. I've been working on that spreadsheet too, which involves lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of busy work.
Mm-hmm.
Like opening up the Steam page, copying the link, jotting down the base price, jotting down the Steam reviews for the purposes of categorization later behind the scenes that like the general public won't see. But Bill gave me the idea of gamifying, actually revealing the spreadsheet. So like once we hit some milestone, it'll be like, here are all of the games that are like $40 or more or something. You know, now they're on the spreadsheet to be given away or whatever. Again, I haven't worked out details yet, but it's going to be fun, and I'm going to try to do it soon into the new year, hopefully sometime in like mid to late January, if not then early February in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So save up some money. It's going to be, I haven't decided which one yet, but it's going to be a pro-trans what's the word? Charity. Because, you know, it's currently awful to be a trans person, what with all of the legislation and whatnot trying to make you illegal. And it's just ridiculous and awful and needs to stop. But I can't do that myself. But I can raise money for charities that can help. So, yeah. So be on the lookout for Chivos for Charity in early 2024. It will be a blast. I've got, like I said, so many Steam games to give away. Just so many. Some of them are crap. Some of them are brilliant. Some of them are delisted, and I have no idea if the codes will even work anymore. Some of them are free now, which I found hilarious. Every time I'd run across one that was like free to play, I'm like, ha! I've had this code for too long. This game has gone free to play. So yeah, it'll be a big adventure. I might, instead of doing like a 1 day or 1 weekend, I might stretch it out and do like a week-long thing. I haven't decided yet. If you have any input at all in that, let me know. In the Discord, there's a charity streams channel. So by all means, if you have any ideas of any sort for any of this, chime in there, where I'll be sure to see it and have record of it. Because I will forget otherwise. But yeah, the Lord of the Rings thing is coming along at a nice clip. I'm so happy to be done with the first book. And Chivos for Charity is coming together nicely. I'm very excited. So yay! I'll try to remember to mention this at the beginning of the show next week, so all the people that stop listening when we get to the final thoughts can hear it.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
So, all right. With that, though, today, as of recording, is the first day, I think, of Hanukkah. So, happy Hanukkah if you do that. Right? I think it's the 7th. I think that's what it said.
Yeah, I haven't looked it up.
If not, then happy Hanukkah when it does start. Apologies for my idiocy. I don't do well with things that change every year. The only reason I remember my birthday is because it's the same every year. Mike's birthday is the same every year, and every year I forget which day it is. That's really sad because it's also my mom's birthday. But anyway. So, I'm going to shut up now. This has been episode 691, holy crap, of the Mana Pool. Thank you all so very much for joining us. And, Swans aren't mythic. Don't tell Brian.